This video is all about how to create a product demo for your SaaS, but I wanted to take a slightly different approach and actually interview the founder of a company to understand who their audience is, the core value propositions of their platform, and how they actually want to use their product demos in order to create more opportunities and hopefully close more deals. So if you'd like to see the finished product, you should stick around until the end. I've also got a bunch of tutorial style videos that you can view on my channel, which are all focused on product demos. Hopefully you'll walk away feeling like you've got the skills to create your own product demo for your company as well. Ryan, you work at BoardReady, which is a startup targeting, I think it's nursing students. Maybe you could give me a little bit of an overview of who your target audience is and we can go from there.
Absolutely. I'm one of the co-founders of BoardReady AI. Our platform is using AI and large language models to target nurse anesthesia students. These students have to perform an oral boards exam. And what our platform initially is focusing on is preparing these students for that exam by leveraging AI. They can practice limitless case scenarios.
And so as a company, where are you guys at?
We have a product that's launched, currently adding features. We want this to be an AI tutor for healthcare, utilizing that oral communication, that verbal style of learning.
Is the challenge selling to universities or is the challenge selling to students?
We're trying to establish our primary strategy of, are we going B2B sales? Are we going to go to universities directly in order to onboard this large group of people? So yeah, it's hard to answer that question right now. I think the challenge is both, because there is, again, skepticism from universities to implement artificial intelligence.
Sort of got two audiences, which does make it hard from a product demo perspective. If you were to pick one, what would it be? Would it be the student audience or would it be the university audience?
I would say the university audience, because it will be easier to onboard a class and it'll hopefully be easier to retain them as a customer. I saw from one of your questions, would you prefer for this demo to be embedded? And the answer is yes, that would be amazing because we could have it directly on our website. It would improve our SEO. The users then can get a brief demo of what is this product actually going to look like if I spend this amount of money? And instead of having to allow them to access the software itself and fund it with credits, but then again, you look at it from the perspective of how do I establish credibility with the university when I'm trying to sell something? If I had a product demo video to attach at the bottom and said, hey, please just take a look and tell us what you think. We'd be happy to hop on a call.
The next stage of this call I'm going to skip over because it's essentially Ryan running me through the entire platform start to finish and me essentially asking a bunch of questions about what makes BoardReady special behind the scenes so that I can incorporate those into the product demo. So let's dive into the actual process of creating their product demo now. I've taken a pause to think about what BoardReady really needs from a product demo. And I've prepared it in this simple one slide product demo plan. And I really recommend that you do this when you're creating your own product demos because it just helps you to have more clarity about what you're trying to achieve through one particular demo. I also have videos on product demo strategy and how you can come up with what your prioritization actually is. To get back to BoardReady, what I've essentially said is these are the features that we want to show off and the screens that we need to capture. These are the screens that we don't need to show. So the login process is almost never that relevant unless your tool is literally a login tool. Lengthy back and forth with AI is almost never that interesting for people. Better to just show the value that they're getting from the chat. And that's where the unique value propositions really come in. So these are the things, when people think product demos, they think, oh, it's really about just showing how the product works. But in actuality, it's an opportunity to show how the product works alongside explaining what the value proposition is behind the picture. So in this case, it prepares students for exams and work. All of the content is vetted by a medical professional. The questions follow prescribed oral examination standards, really important for universities to know that they're actually preparing people for their examinations. And finally, that it can be used throughout the semester. It's not just for final exam preparation. So now that we've got a product demo plan, the next step is obviously to capture the product demo itself. We'll be capturing all of BoardReady's product using a tool called HowdyGo, and then we'll be editing their product demo in HowdyGo in order to create an interactive product demo that they can share with their prospects, either by embedding it into their homepage or by sending a link directly to them. So we start by opening the Chrome extension. Here, I've already resized the screen to the optimal screen size. We suggest this because it just looks good on a page. And then you click Start Recording. From here, we start the recording process. It's capturing everything in HTML and CSS. So during the actual editing process, we can make any changes that we need to. So we click through the app. Each time we click, it creates a new step in the eventual product demo that we'll be editing in Howdy Go. And you can see how this can be quite a long recording. I've actually sped this video up by 5 times. If you were actually demonstrating a product with this recording as your only tool, then it would just be way too long. People wouldn't actually sit through it. This is actually sped up to 30 times speed now. Then I click stop recording and it uploads all the HTML and CSS to Howdy Go. And this is the Howdy Go editor with the steps on the left-hand side. From here, I go into essentially an iterative refinement process. So for example, I'm using find and replace and text editing to remove references to my name. I'm also starting to insert text into all of these annotations that have shown up. They automatically position themselves based on where you clicked. So it makes it quite easy to get a product demo developed quite quickly. You'll see that I keep on coming back to a lot of these annotations and really editing the text in order to incorporate those value propositions that we shared at the beginning during our product demo plan, and also to make sure that I'm being as concise as possible. So for example, this annotation is just way too long. I come back and I edit this one loads and loads of times. And obviously it's a little bit trickier for me because of the fact that I don't have a perfect understanding of how BoardReady works. So I'm sort of trying to find the right language as we go. You'll see that I also change the annotation type. So I use ripple boxes quite a lot, where I'm selecting or bringing attention to a specific element in the UI. But I sometimes also use a ripple, which is just the blue dot that you see on the screen. This is the default annotation type that we use, and usually it's quite helpful for just pointing out the general UI, a really specific small element on the UI, or if I'm using the auto progress feature, where it essentially just proceeds through to the next step of the demo, I'll use the ripple because it helps to draw people's attention to where they should look, sort of like a cat following a laser. Here you can see that I start adding chapters into my product demo, which adds the chapter navigator in the bottom left-hand corner automatically. And that essentially allows people to navigate around in the demo. So let's say they found a particular section really interesting and they want to return to it. It's easy for them to do that. As you can see, I'm always going back to steps in the demo and deleting them if I think they're not necessary for the product demo to flow really nicely. And I also incorporate auto progress on steps where I don't think it's necessary to have text on an annotation. I then start looking at the CTA step, which shows up right at the end of the product demo once someone's finished going through the entire thing. And this is where you can incorporate the next step in the user onboarding flow. So if, for example, you're a relatively sales-led organization, you might get them to book a call with you using a Calendly link or your existing Contact Us page, which is what I use for BoardReady. They have their contact page. Or alternatively, if you're a product-led growth style company and you just want people to get into a free trial, then you can push them straight to that page. Now, because BoardReady is an oral examination tool, I needed to incorporate these videos into the product demo to show how a student would interact with the AI and also how the AI would respond. But importantly, I don't want to show the entirety of that conversation because it just gets a little bit too lengthy. So I prepare these short videos and I upload them directly to the step within the Howdy Go demo. And then as the person is going through the product demo, those videos will automatically play and they'll basically get the gist of how the AI tool works without having to view the entire thing. At this stage of the demo creation process, I'm constantly going back to the preview page to basically see how the demo flows, because you want to identify any areas where it feels a little bit slow or lackluster and just edit them out. Either delete the step or use an auto progress, maybe slim down the annotation text. And over time, you'll start to get to the point where your product demo feels like it's punching through the content, but it's still delivering a lot of value on every step. At this point, I realized that I actually want to incorporate a different application into this product demo. So I want to show how BoardReady integrates with a learning management system. So in order to do that, I have created a dummy example course in Canvas, which is a free learning management system. And then I use the insert step function in Howdy Go to basically just insert a brand new step into the product demo, which then gets the sizing all perfect. I know that I've captured some stuff that I don't really want in here, so I'm going to edit that stuff out later. And I can do that using the Edit UI functionality, the Hide UI functionality, and also just deleting steps that aren't necessary. Here I decide that I want to incorporate a zoom into my product demo, so I just use our zoom feature. I try not to overdo it with zooms just because it tends to feel a little bit nauseating if you have too many of them, so keep them on the low side. So I'm just going to let this product demo play out, and I'm also going to show you how I incorporated those videos into each of the steps. Here they are now.
The patient has a Category 3 fetal heart rate tracing, which is considered a non-reassuring fetal status for requiring immediate delivery. Specifically, the fetal heart rate is in the 80s with recurrent late decelerations and minimal variability. This pattern suggests significant fetal compromise and possible uteroplacental insufficiency. Let's proceed with your first question. What are your immediate anesthetic considerations, and what type of anesthesia would you choose for this emergency cesarean section? Justify your choice.
I'd give the patient an epidural. This product demo took me about an hour to create, and that's probably because I don't perfectly understand exactly how BoardReady works and the type of language that I should be using to address their target audience. The upside to doing a product demo in HowdyGo, particularly for a company like BoardReady, is that showing off those media features means that you can do it in a pretty concise manner. For example, if you were just not interested in that and you were watching a video, it would be a little bit trickier to jump forward, whereas in HowdyGo, they can just click to the next step once they understand how it all works. But then on top of that, there's also the fact that they're a relatively new company. So there's a lot of new features coming into the product, and the product is changing over time quite quickly. So being able to edit and incorporate new features into your product demo after the fact is so much easier to do in HowdyGo. They don't even have to change the embed that is going to sit onto their website. They can just change it in situ and it is immediately live. If you found this video helpful, I would really appreciate a like or a subscribe. And if you need more detail, I have loads of videos all focused on product demos. Head over to my channel and hopefully you find exactly what you're looking for. But if you don't, leave a comment in the chat below just so that I can see if I'm on the right track or if I'm missing some details and some specifics that you would love to know about. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate it. My name's Tom. I'm the co-founder of HowdyGo. Thanks again. Bye.